Welcome to Sugar, Spice, and Spirits, where happy hour meets hustle, and the only thing stronger than our cocktails are our opinions. Get ready to laugh, learn, and maybe question a few life choices. Cheers to being a little smarter and a whole lot spicier. So grab your drink, kick back, and let's mix a little business with a whole lot of fun. Because around here, success is always on the menu.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Sugar, Spice, and Spirits. I am Natalie Pilkinton here with
Mindy Price and Kelly Williams. Welcome, welcome.
And today we are bringing our sip of the day, as we always bring our business knowledge. Business life and real estate is what we talk about here on this podcast. So we hope to share some enlightening ideas and thoughts as we go along. And if not, at least we can entertain, hopefully, through this process.
At least ourselves.
Right. We have fun. And we like to bring a sip of the day because it is Sugar, Spice, and Spirits. So my sip of the day, which is, it's my turn. We're obviously rotating this as we go along. I've got my Buc-ee's filler up, but I think what is more important is what's in this bucket. This is the Effit Bucket. You can choose the other word if you shall like, but this actually originated in Thailand, and it was where the tourists would go through, and they started like just throwing energy drinks and everything they could in the bucket. So the tourists started calling them the Effit Bucket. And because of this reckless mix and party mindset that came, I decided to go ahead and make this for today's topic, which is being your authentic self or being true to who you are. I think authentic is a buzzword that everybody's talking about, but how do you stay true to yourself through the process of going through life and everything? So cheers, ladies. Here's our Effit Buckets. We do have these, our little gummy ringlet, like charm bracelets on it. So I thought they were cute. So cheers.
Wow. Did you try that before you served it to us?
I did not. Oh my God. Do you need more?
No.
All right.
That was good. It's great. So good.
You don't have to lie.
I mean, it's not terrible.
For the recipe, subscribe. You'll get it on our newsletter.
You know what's so funny is that you mentioned that it's often laced with energy drinks. You just said laced.
Well, see, that is the doctor in the group.
So, do we need any more energy? Is there an energy drink in it?
No. So this one
okay.
has a combination of a lot of other different things, from juice, fruit punch, vodka, rum, peach schnapps, blue Curaçao.
Wow. And they'll have to go to the website.
And yeah, to get the mix and everything, because it is so yummy, which if I was making this like in real life, I mean, this is real life, but if I was making it in real life, I would have tried it and made it. I'd probably add some more juice to it and set it up or something.
Soda, sparkling water. Soda. Topo Chico. Topo Chico.
I would add Sprite.
Okay. If you like really sweet. I guess my big thing was when I happened to look at my little cheat sheet and when you also said that they often added energy drinks, I was just going to preface everything and say, we haven't had any energy drinks yet, and we're still this high-strung and high-practice. So, sorry. I like it. I think it's good.
So the reason why the Effit Bucket is because when we're trying to be our authentic self, so many of us run around and run our mouths with no problem. But then there's the other of us that worry too much about other people's thoughts, other people's feelings. What is this going to do? What does so-and-so think? If I did this and went out of my way and did that, how does that look? We do it for coworkers. We do it for bosses. We do it for our team. We do it for our kids, our spouse. And we forget ourselves in the process. Yeah. And I think that it's important that we have just a little Effit Bucket in our life that we can throw things that aren't important, that aren't relevant to our goals, that aren't relevant to our balanced will of life, in our little Effit Bucket. Because in the big scheme of things, it's our circle of influence. And you mentioned the book Mel Robbins when we were prepping for the show. You said, let them. And you know, it's one of those things. It's in your circle of influence. What's in your circle of influence? What can you control? Does it really matter? Does it really make or break if your neighbor appreciates the homemade bread you brought? Or does it make or break whenever your spouse doesn't appreciate when you do something? Like, I think those are two different things, but those are things to really look at. What are we spending our time on? What can we really have an influence on? And where do we go from here, kind of thing? So
And I don't know about y'all, but I will tell you, I have found myself, so I'm a huge words of affirmation person. I am. Like, words matter.
Myself.
That's important.
Myself.
And I have weaponized them, which is not good, and figured out, how do you hurt somebody? But it's truly because there have been times in my life where I was so worried about what everybody else was thinking and, trying to be the best at this. And maybe I'd had more friends because of that. Or maybe if I did this, it would be that. And I can't tell you the moment that hit me when I finally was like, it does not matter. It doesn't matter what anybody thinks. And it took me a long time to get there. And I am not saying by any stretch of the imagination that I'm 100% past that, but I am so much better. And I will tell you, I feel so much more free just being me than worried about what standard my mom had, what standard, everybody else had for me, God rest her soul, just all the things, trying to please others. And as an overachiever, and that's just me. I love to do things and do things well, but there is a point where you're just like, I can't be a yes person. I can't just continue to implement things and make things happen because this is going to make somebody happy. And so I have to say that I am truly one that is very excited about this bucket and thinking about it, actually doing an episode where it's like, just throw it in there. Does it really matter? Just let it go.
Yeah. Yeah. Because sometimes we can be, I was known in high school as the only cheerleader that didn't need the megaphone because I was so loud. I'm still loud. I'm still opinionated.
No.
And yes, I am a little bit. And you do. You have to sometimes just, be very convicted in your thought processes, in your beliefs. And you may stand outside the circle all by yourself, but you still have to believe 100% in who you are, because that's why you are where you are. That's how you got there. And you're not going to be everyone's cup of tea.
Nope.
You may be someone's rum or tequila or entire bucket. So, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there's somebody in the industry. So I've been, I work outside of the industry too with the company that I have, but there's someone in our industry, nice Natalie, she's filling up that.
Fill her up.
I don't know what she just got. It was clear white that just came out, and now it's that I'm a little worried for you. So anyway, her name is,
I watched it before we used it.
well, she posted the other day, her name's Tara Samuels, and she posted a picture of her drinking a cup of coffee. And the whole thing, again, Tara will get upset with me for messing this up, but she's like, I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I don't know if she was having coffee, if she was having tea, but the message was, it's like, you're not always going to be everybody's cup of tea. And I messaged her on the thing, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is such a hard lesson to learn, but it's so true. And then you talked about, you didn't exactly say it this way, but scribbling outside the lines. I will tell you, a lot of my success and failures came from scribbling outside the lines. But if I was so stuck in a box and that was all that I was doing, I don't think I would be sitting here today with you two ladies. My life would be very different if I was just confined to what everybody else said you had to do. Because I was all about, okay, we got to get this done, then let's figure it out. But not stepping on people along the way. That was always very important to me, to take care of those that were around me. You bring everybody up together.
So I think what comes along with this conversation is, first and foremost, you have to know who you are.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so many of us,
Figure it out.
so many of us, like Mindy, are lost on this journey of life. And we
Lost. Keep up.
Okay. So many of us.
Circling around.
Drink. I can't do this. Everybody drink.
Sorry.
Okay. Refocus. All right. So many of us are going through and just trying to figure out who we are on the process. And no matter what, you do know who you are at the core. You have your core values. Are you a person of integrity? Are you a person of faith? And what does that mean? Are you a person of class or status, or are you a person, how do you identify yourself? And are you a serious entrepreneur? Are you a worker bee that goes out and executes the plan and the vision? Who are you at the core? And if you know that, then you can work from there. But I can tell you, if you're not true to yourself and don't work on a system of beliefs that are of integrity or high integrity, then you end up losing the one thing that you do have, which is yourself. I'm trying to think of the word escapes me right now. Maybe I've had too much to drink already. I don't know. But when you're not, when you don't have that integrity, though, people don't
They don't believe you. They don't trust you.
They don't
There's
believe,
something
and you
about
lose
trust.
that trust, which that's the one thing that people have always can count on me. They know what they're going to get when they get Natalie P. They know that they're going to get straight shooter. They know they're going to get the facts. They know I'm going to speak from the heart. I may not always be right, but I'm going to speak with love and taking into account them, like the 7 habits of highly effective people. How would I want to speak? Like, not what do I want to get out of this conversation, but how can I help you be the best to get the most out of this conversation? And I think that walking through life with that integrity and that same kind of conviction, it's enabled me to foster such true friendships and relationships that in business and in life, I can pick up the phone and call somebody I haven't talked to in a year or two and be like, hey, how are you? Hey, Natalie, and you can have these genuine conversations. Right. Or, hey, I need a favor. You can call in a favor and they'll be there for you because you are authentic to yourself, because you know. Now, if you don't know who you are, then that's a big step you got to start with. Like, why? Like, who are you? Why do you operate? Like, what's your motivation? Is it your family? Is it your business? Is it your kids? Whatever it is, and then work that way back. Because if you don't know who you are, you can be swayed in every single direction. And I've seen marriages fail. I've seen relationships fail, business ventures, all of it because people didn't stay true and walk the path of conviction on their goals and on their mission.
Well, and I think you try and find a word for authenticity to take the place of it. It is such a big buzzword, but everybody can relate to it. So I think it's okay that we use that word. I know it seems to be overused at times, but it's really, really not. Everything that you did say, you may still be trying to go back into, what truly is your why? What is your passion? And when you have that, you have purpose, you have clarity. But if you are being authentic to who you really are, and I said it in a different episode, I was like, as long as you're being a good person, you're not purposely trying to put yourself before others and step on others, there is a difference in the way that you function. And trust, y'all, you know this. Trust is huge. If you lose trust, I'm not saying you can't get it back, but it's really, really, really hard. I've learned that lesson the hard way many, many times. And so when I think about authenticity, who I am and who the people are, my friends that are around me, when, my circle of friends used to be this big. And
she has her hands up like really wide. So her circle of friends used to be this big. Now how big is it?
Well, it used to be this big. And I think about it. And one of my dear friends, she used to be, she used to work for me. She was a teammate of mine at another company. Incredibly amazing person, human mom, and she was teaching her daughter a lesson. It's probably something you all have heard before. And she talked about the dollar. You've got 1 penny, which by the way, we know pennies are going away, but you've got 100 pennies. Do you want to spend your time trying to make all of those happy and worried about what everybody's thinking, or do you want to focus on your core 4? Those core 4, the quarters. And when you think about that, I think about my circle of influence. I think about my circle of friends and the people that I truly let in. Like I appreciate every single person that walks into my life. I want to have an impact on those. But my friend group that was so big, now I think about those that are really around and who I'm with and how I feel about them when I'm with them. Because the ones that used to bring me down or we just didn't jive. And some of my friends, our opinions are completely different. We are on opposite ends of the spectrum. She's laughing. She knows. And I respect that because I learn from them all the time, but it also helps me. And I think too, the other thing is being open to learning and growing. And I think the minute that we stop learning is when we're not being authentic to ourselves because we don't know everything. And if you think you know everything, you've got a problem.
No, I agree. And, it brings up a conversation we had. I was working in a clinic one time, and it was a very random, off the cuff kind of conversation. Everyone was like, so if you were to leave this earth today, how would you want to be remembered? And of course, it was, the great personality, the bubbly, the beautiful hair and everything. And they came to me and I just kind of sat there and I thought about it. And they said, well, what, you're vibrant and this and that. And I said, well, I think I would want to be remembered as loyal, trustworthy, and able to be dependent on, and those types of things. And yes, personality is, and being able to relate to people and everything is important. But at the end of the day, when you are that person that they pick up the phone and say, hey,
I need you. And they know that it's based on the fact that you've been there before. And no matter how big or how small, you realize that a lot of people depend on that. And so when you are true to yourself, it's like one of those things when you lose someone and people call you and say, let me know if I can do something for you. That's bullshit. Bull crap. Sorry, drink. Sorry.
Drink, Natalie.
Why
drink.
are we drinking?
Oh,
Okay.
she's supposed to drink. Actually,
I cussed. I'm sorry. What's that supposed to be called? That's called a
Cuss tax. I don't know.
tax. Anyway.
I don't know. We weren't supposed to drink, but I'm glad we did. It's kind of growing on me.
It's one of those things
Do I
where
need to fill you up?
I think we're all guilty of saying we'll be there and then we're not. Call me if you need something, but shoot, please don't call me. I don't have time. And it's better than to just shut up and not say anything than to not stand by what you say. And sometimes I know that's not being authentic to somebody else, but in the long run, if someone calls you and says, I need you, and you're like, oh, geez, sorry, can't be there. Then you're not really being your true authentic self and not living up to what you are hopefully putting out there for people to rely on you for. So, I mean, I know it's kind of different than what we're talking about being authentic ourselves, but that was something that when you mentioned that, it just kind of resonated.
Yeah, so
with me.
I have two thoughts with that. So when we're talking about death and family and life, and we've all been impacted with it and been abandoned by people that we love with it, death is one of those things. And I had a conversation just the other day with one of my good friends, my brother from another mother. Those that know me know who that is. And we were talking about somebody else that we know. And he said, I just don't know what to say. And I said, sometimes you just don't have to say anything, just by showing up and being there for somebody who is going through something, because words can't replace, words can't fix. But by showing up and being there, bringing a dish, just being there is all the things. I was abandoned by my basketball team in high school when my dad died. And that was the loneliest feeling, not having my friends there that I was with day in and day out when my dad died. And like, it's just sometimes death is separate than I think than anything else. Mm-hmm. But it's also a time when you do need to show up for your friends. Like, that's the hardest time when it is, because we all deal with death in a different way. And we all have our own emotions behind it and our own feelings. Show up. Yeah. Show up, whatever that looks like. And, if you can't make it to the funeral, text them after. How are you doing?
Right. And it's, and death is the ultimate extreme. But I remember when I first started my career as a physical therapist, I started out at TIER in the medical center in Houston, and I was on the spinal cord team. So I dealt with young men and women who one day they're walking around, the next day they have a catastrophic event and they're now paralyzed. And I'll never forget, I had a patient who was in law school at LSU, and he was in a motorcycle wreck or something anyway. And so broke his back and was paralyzed from about the chest down, and very good looking, muscular, blonde hair. I mean, he's a very successful attorney now. But a lot of his friends did not know about what happened. If you think about some of the older movies, you think about someone who is suddenly, paralyzed. They picture someone, lying in the bed and, not being able to help themselves. And that's very far from what we teach, as a physical therapist. But what I remember was he was going to a friend's wedding, and it was a friend from his frat house, and all of his frat friends were going to be there, all of their friends and girlfriends and wives. And a lot of them did not know about his injury. He was scared to death. And I told him, I said, let me tell you something. You're going to roll in there in his wheelchair. I said, you're going to roll in there, and people that you've known your entire life are not going to speak to you because they don't know what to say, because they don't know how to approach you. And I said, that's when you have to be yourself and say, just because my legs don't work doesn't mean anything else doesn't work. I'm still the same person. Be true to yourself. I said, because now that the friends that you make from that chair accept you as you are. There's going to be those that you're never going to have a relationship with again because they don't know how to be their authentic self, because they don't know how to approach you. And that really impacted me, because after he came back from that wedding, he said,
wow. He said, I'm glad you told me what to expect because I really would have been hurt if I'd gotten there and thought you were my best friend, we were in the frat house together and this and that. And he said several of them could not even approach me. And I said, then that's what you do is I said, you just roll yourself right up and you start talking to them and don't give them a choice.
Yeah.
But that was a huge impact for him. And like I said, he's a very successful attorney now. But that was a huge hump for him to get over. He had such a major change in his life that didn't understand how to relate to people now.
Well, that is definitely a huge tangent tax. Everybody has to drink.
Sorry. It ended up with a good outcome though.
No, that's important. Go up and talk. I mean, it changes the friendship, the dynamic. So it's all.
So you said something that leads us back to being your authentic self. And it just came to mind. I'm hoping we don't have to take another drink.
We'll see what happens.
We'll see. I mean, my Buc-ee's filler up gas tank is here waiting to fill up. I mean, Kelly, do you need a refill? You good?
Speaking of, being your authentic self. So
I have to go low.
We never know what people are thinking. You try to please everybody. You try to do, this stuff. So I was at a leadership thing and we're sitting around and some folks were talking and somebody said something and it took me aback for a minute. And one of the ladies said, I get really offended since I've lost weight that people come up to me and say, oh, you look so great. Yeah. And she's like, oh, so you're saying I looked like crap before? And she called him out on it. And I thought about it. And for a while I was like, I'm not going to say that to somebody. I don't know what to say. I'm going to respect that. And then the more I thought, I was like, no, who I am, if I see something, I'm going to say, it made me think. I did. I'm like, oh my gosh, not that you didn't look good before, but wow, how are you feeling? You look great. And then there are people who have gone through weight loss or something. They want you to say something and you don't. And if it's who you are, you're not trying to hurt someone's feelings. And so I feel like, are you saying that's a tangent?
No, I was saying that's on the nose. Everybody, I tapped my nose while she was talking. I was like, you're hitting the nail on the nose.
Yeah.
Okay. And she's like,
oh my God, I don't want to drink anymore, but okay.
That's me agreeing. I'm like, yeah.
It's crazy because you will get opinions or thoughts from someone and some folks will change who they are because of it because you're trying to please that person. But if you ultimately, in your core, I've always told my team members, I've always told my family, what does your gut tell you? Go with your gut. And y'all, the times I have gone against my gut, it has bit me in the butt times 10. And I'm mad at myself. I'm like, go with your gut. And I will tell you this right now. Everybody is different. When I go with my gut and I make a mistake, I'm glad I went with my gut. And I'll learn from it. Why was it a mistake? But if I don't go with my gut and I'm like, damn it, I should have done that, that is frustrating to me.
Yeah, no, I agree. Working for a Muslim man for a while, I got to experience another culture and another religion, and I got to travel to India, and I got to do so many awesome things. And if I stereotype or if I do anything that I think is what you're supposed to say, but I just went along with the culture and the area, where I was. And I think if you respect and this kind of goes with still being authentic to yourself, but if you're in a Christian state or a Christian, you say Merry Christmas. If you're in a Muslim state or another area and it's their Muslim Happy Ramadan, or, you celebrate, how's your fast going? You ask questions that are important to them and their culture. And and you're still authentic to yourself, but you're not trying to fake it till you make it kind of thing, which is my motto on a lot. However, not in that. So I think that's important. And when you try and fake it, like using the right pronouns or whatever it may be, the hot topic of the day, and you're not truly asking, then you can't defend. It's like, well, I thought you looked like a they, them. What does that mean?
Yeah. A lot of times it's very transparent and people can see right through you when you are trying to,
trying to fit in.
Yeah.
I think one of the things too is protecting your energy. I think so many times people feel like boundaries are being ugly. You're still trying to be nice to people. You're still trying to respect people, but protecting that boundary and protecting yourself is very, very important. So I have a motto, if I feel like you've done me wrong, I don't need you in my life. I'll have a conversation with you. I don't just cut tail and run. But if if I don't feel like we're on the same page and you really threw me under the bus and rolled over it, I don't have to keep you on my friends list. Like, I will block you faster than anything. I don't have to have you in my life because my life is fantastic.
But let's talk about something you just said. You said, I will have a conversation with you.
Yes.
I think that depending on how that conversation goes is as you're figuring out, is that person going to be in your life moving forward?
Right, because there's misunderstandings.
Yes.
Like when somebody is being authentic to themselves and they say, wow, you look great. You've lost some weight. Oh, you called me fat, you heifer. No. So it's like, I'm not calling you fat. I was truly saying how great you look and I appreciate it. And I think you look healthy and wonderful. And then by having that conversation, it's like, no, I wasn't calling you a fat heifer before. I'm just saying you look fantastic and I'm proud of you and I'm happy for you. Then that means it's coming from a loving place. But if I come to you and be like, yeah, I thought you were fat before, so God, so thankful you got off your lazy butt and did something.
That's just a person you don't need to be a friend with, right? But think about those things that somebody genuinely doesn't know they hurt you.
Oh, misunderstandings
Or
happen all
I
the
didn't know I
time.
hurt somebody. And then they tell you, it's like, oh my gosh, I will lay myself on a sword. I'm like, I'm so sorry. Or let me explain to you why. Can we just have a moment? Please hear me out. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying, let's look at my perspective. Let's look at your perspective. And then let's figure out where we go from here. When you can have that kind of communication, and I've had to have hard conversations.
Mindy's the queen at those.
I've had to have, and I don't like having to have them, but I've been on the side of it where I've upset somebody and I'm like, oh my gosh, here's what I did wrong. I apologize. Or this is why it was. And they're like, I didn't realize that. They say there's your side, their side, and somewhere in the middle, there's the truth.
Right.
But then you can, if somebody truly wants to be your friend or they truly care, and those are the people that I want in my life, they're like, oh, I didn't realize that. Or they help me understand that. And that, though, again, everything I think leads back to communication. And paying attention to what somebody's saying. And sometimes you just got to pray for them and give them grace. And then sometimes you just got to, I'm done.
Yeah, forgiveness is not only for them, it's for you. I mean, it's more for me than it is for them, I think, a lot of times. And I think there are times that we forgive people because they are in different life cycles or different situations. You know, it's when you go through a divorce, when you go through a situation of death and you're widowed, or you go through these life-changing, you lose a child. I have so many friends that have lost children. It is a different kind of situation, and they're not going to be the same friend that they were back then. So you give them grace, but you do try and pull them back as a friend. Hey, pull your head out of your ass. Let's go. You've got a family to live for. You've got this to live for. You've got this to go. Let's go. And I think that's important, but that's also what a good friend does. Like, a good friend isn't just here to whisper sweet nothings in your ear, or a good spouse or a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a partnership or anything like that. No, if you go into business with somebody, that's a marriage, and you better be able to have tough conversations, and you better be able to stick it through and have these. Because I was listening to Alex Hermosi. He's talking about, why is the grass greener on the other side? Because it's fertilized with shit. Shit is everywhere. And you have shit on your side, there's shit on the other side. So you just might as well cultivate and fertilize and work with yours and work through that sludge and all of that you have to get through to be able to have this successful business. Because once you get through that sludge or shit, you're going to have new shit that comes on. That's a different problem in the business funnel or pipeline. So it's just moving along that pipeline. And understanding, but having those tough conversations, communication, not just quick to block, finishing that out and seeing where they're at. I know you and I had a conversation, like there was this one time that you really hurt my feelings, and I don't really have feelings. So you got my one feeling that was down in there.
I told you, I laid myself on the sword.
But it was something that I was like, do I even bring it up? And I'm like, no, it still kind of bothers me. So I'll bring it up and let her know. And I did. I told her, Kelly, you were there. But that's what friends do. And it's like, hey, I'm sorry.
Still here, so apparently I said the right thing.
We were too far deep in this SSS stuff, the sugar, spice, and spirits. I was like, oh my goodness. No, but you apologize and you or you own it or say, I didn't realize that, or this is what it is. And you move on. But I do believe in giving a person a chance to rectify, to respond. I had a mom at my door this week, and I didn't deal with her this week. And I was like, nope, it's family time, peace. So she got me this morning at the mailbox. My kid did something to her kid on the bus. Well, of course, my kid has his story. He's 9. I'm a firm believer in let kids work it out. and that they'll figure out who they want to be friends with and who they don't want to be friends with. But I swear they are fire and gasoline. I don't know what it is between my kids and their kids, but it's one of those things where
Okay.
drink, Minutia drink, sorry. It's one of
Kids
those
will make you
things.
drink.
Yeah.
Kids will make you drink.
Other parents will make you
Yeah,
drink. This is not my first rodeo. I got 3 grown, and then I got this baby coming up. So as I'm talking to this mom, she's just going on, and she's like kissing her babies before they get on the bus, and they're like 3rd and 4th grade. I'm like, dang. Bye, Paxton. Have a great day. You know, but it's just different parenting styles. And she came to me with her story. I'm like, my kid's story's different. So if you want to talk to me about this, I think we let them figure it out. But if we're going to have this conversation, then let's have this conversation with both of our kids there. Let's work through it, because I'm not getting this he said, she said, because he's got his story, she's got hers, truth somewhere in the middle, and I really don't want to play. It's the end of the year. Can we just get through it?
Yeah.
Well, and you know what an interesting example, because you can be a little scary. Okay.
Yeah.
But yes.
Me? Scary?
But you sit there, and she's also a marshmallow, and I love you for that and all the things. It's like, but what you were doing, saying, let's do this, let's bring everybody together. And I guarantee you, if that came out and those kids were talking about whatever, and you're sitting there and it happened to be your child that was in the wrong, you're going to talk to him about that. You're going to have lessons that are learned from it. You'll have a different conversation with that mom, and you fix it. I don't know what you would do if your kid was right. You'd have to fill in the blanks there.
You know what? That's for her to deal with her kids. Like, it's my kid. You choose. You can not react to them on the bus. Like, whatever. Just let it go. And because all their issues are on the bus. But it's one of those things. If my kid does wrong, I'll absolutely call him on the carpet for it. And if he does right, which we all have learning, like in life, even if we're being true to our authentic self and we have a situation that comes up that we're having a talk to and we're learning from that, we can all learn from everything. How could we have approached this situation better? How could we have done this better? You know, do I march up to her door right after she marched over to my door, right as the kids get off the school bus and spill their beans about what happened, or spill their tea, what happened on the bus? No, I wanted to be calm and I wanted to enjoy my weekend. I didn't want to have her living rent free in my head. So when she came over to me, I was like, okay, let's have a conversation.
Don't live rent free in my head. Cheers to that.
Cheers to that.
Cheers to that.
So, and speaking of when Mindy said that about being scared, as we talked in a previous episode, you and I have not known each other for very long, and if we 3 stand up, I'm about hooter high with them. There's a picture of me standing between them, and literally I have a boob in each ear. Just saying.
Most guys are like, what? Did I hear a boob
yes.
in his ear?
I say boob. I am 5'3". They are 5'8", 10, whatever. They're taller than me. So they are both forces to be reckoned with, just because of their personalities, but their professional accolades and everything. And so,
Okay, doctor.
when
I know,
well, okay, yes, sometimes I can be a doctor, but I'm still the dumb girl in the room. I think we've all focused on that before. But
No.
I think the nice thing about Natalie that I found was that when I really needed the absolute truth to hit me between the eyes, that's what I got. And I may not want the answer, but I knew that if I came to you and said, would you please read this? I knew if it sucked, you'd say, rewrite it. But that's what I needed, because the last thing that you also wanted was for me to walk into a situation and look like I didn't know what was going on, because you value friendship. We all value each other's strengths and weaknesses. And I think we try to lift each other up. And I think that's important for women today to focus on lifting each other up. And sometimes it takes the hammer between the eyes to say,
And I want to say men too. Men don't really necessarily lift each other up. They just don't say anything.
no, you're right. But it just comes down to the fact that sometimes you need that authentic person to be truthful with you. And even though at first it scares you, that person ends up being someone that you really, just like you said that you guys had a little thing one time. She and I did too. And once we finally worked it out,
What kind of thing? No, I'm just kidding.
It was a miscommunication.
No. Right,
No, but
communication.
It was a miscommunication, but at that moment, when we finally worked it out and fixed it, and it didn't take long. It took us saying, "Hey, you said this, I said this. We both it was on two streets." But at the end of the day, I thought, I know at the end of the day, if someone needs to put me in my place, and I need the honest to God truth, I know now of two people who are going to do it for me. And I'm a people pleaser. And sometimes I used to have a really difficult time telling someone, ooh, that was not a good decision. I'm like, okay, yeah, good job. Oh my God, I can't believe she did that. But when it took me to be put in my place on many occasions, I realized how important it is to be your authentic self and sometimes say things to people that they don't want to hear. And that was really difficult for me because, like I said, I'm a people pleaser, and that's tough to throw back over your shoulder and say, wow,
One of the hardest lessons for me, like throughout my whole life, has been I can't stand the BS. I'm like, get to the point, tell me what you need, let's do this, let's go. And then you realize that not everybody's that way. And they want to, I don't want to say sugarcoat, but they want to
fluff it.
They want to fluff it. And that drove me nuts. I was like, because it got on my nerves so bad. I was like, don't people like this? And then I realized I hurt a lot of people's feelings. And I didn't mean to hurt. I wasn't being rude. I was like, why do we have to go through this step, this step, this step? I'm telling you, these are the things that are wrong. Here's my opinion. You could do this. You could do this. Tell me what I can do. Let's go make it happen. Oh, crap. I did that wrong. Let's go fix it. Well, throughout time, and purple markers instead of red, because red hurts people's feelings, I learned that you can't say that. And I know, and oh my gosh, I teach public speaking. There's a lot of things I do, and I've realized that not everything is one size fits all. And I will say some of the best lessons that I've learned is, instead of just firing off my thoughts that in my initial mind think are right, then you start to think about everybody thinks differently. Everybody reacts differently. And so then you think about that, and it's like, okay, so how can you get a message across that is going to make sense for the folks that are in the room? How do you speak to somebody? Everybody has different love languages. Everybody likes to be communicated with differently. Some folks love that straightforward, here you are. I mean, I lost friends over being such a straight shooter. I'm like, what? I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. I'm sorry I told you were a dumbass. Like, I didn't mean to, like, I know that sounds terrible, but, and then it's like, oh my gosh, I'm the jerk. Like, I'm the jerk that's just trying to go through life so fast and like, let's go. I don't have time. Well, I grew up from 19 years old being in a huge corporate office, and like my career, I had to mature so fast. And I think that's part of it. But it took me a long time to learn a lot of these lessons. And
you're really good at finessing. Like, when we started working together, that was one of the things. You're always like, hey, good morning. And I'm like, let's skip the pleasantries. Let's go straight to it. Like, I don't have time for that, which I appreciate that in you, because that's one of the things where I think I'm just like, let's hit straight to it. Just because, like, bam, 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 let's go. We got things to do. But I've always appreciated the way that you've been able to approach subjects.
I had to learn.
Yeah, you've taught yourself well, because I think that's great.
And you're right, because for a while we all worked in similar industries, and I've always been told, and I appreciate the fact that I've been called a nurturer, and I do. I'm the one that will let someone walk in the office and close the door behind me, and they will just drop their tears and boo-hoo and bawl, and I just sit there and listen and stuff, and I'm being like, oh my God, I'm 20 minutes late for a meeting, but I'm not going to send that person packing. That's just me. But sometimes you have to have that person that says, you got 5 minutes to get that shit out of you, and then we'll pick it up later.
That's almost like, am I trying to solve your problem, or am I just listening? Which hat do I have on now? Because I'm ready. Like, let's go. I'll tell you how to fix it, and we'll move on, because I got 5 minutes.
Yeah, and that's what. But when you talk about your company and why people bring you in for consulting, you hear of all these companies that do these team building. Because as the CEO of my own company, you deal with so many different personalities on so many different levels. And you have to know, Sybil is about to walk in your door, and you don't know if Sybil's happy, if she's sad, if she's upset, if she's mad.
but you have to be able to read that in order to make your, whether it's your friendship circle, whether it's your corporate circle, you have to make that work. And sometimes being that direct person can be counterproductive. If all they need is for you to say, I understand, I'm sorry. But then sometimes they need you to say, suck it up, buttercup, welcome to the corporate world. And you have to be that person who can gauge that. And it's not always easy. And sometimes that makes the difference between a very successful corporate person versus someone who, it takes them longer to get there. I'm not saying that a nurturer can't get there. Maybe the ladder is just a little bit, slower for them to ascend, but it's important to be able to find that balance. And I think, I've worked for you and I've worked with you. And there were times when I would walk by your office to say something and I could just look at your face. And I would just keep right on going because I'm like,
Not today, Sadie.
I'm like,
Not today.
she is not going to want to hear what I have to say. So I just kept on going. So, but, and that's because I had the luxury of knowing you outside the office, and not everyone gets that luxury. So.
But I also think that it's your bank deposits that you make with your team. So you can't just come in and be a tyrant. You just can't come in and be a dictator. And this is what I need. And you can have all the good communication in the world. However, if you're not making bank deposits in with your team, with your family, with your kids, with your spouse, like, you're not going to have success. And I think that's what's lost, is that people feel like, I'm a boss babe, or I'm an entrepreneur, like, I'm a leader, Alex Hormozy, like, cut that crap. No, it's, you've got to make the bank deposits, and the bank deposits aren't just rote gifts or just do it. Like, it's truly pouring into somebody and truly getting to know them and having these conversations and questions. Now, sometimes we're put into situations where we don't have the luxury of those little comments or conversations that happen at the water cooler, because you're on fire. Your world's on fire. Your ass is on fire. And you are literally just flying by the seat of your pants, going with changes and doing what you got to do. So when you're in that moment, unfortunately, you're not as able to be. But
When you say that, though, I want to take a pause, because when your hair is on fire and it's like, I'm just going, you're just going, we're just making stuff happen. That truly is, and that is a lesson that I've learned. And moving forward, if I find myself in that position ever again, I'm sure we've all been there. It's, whoa, what is there any break that I can put on to figure this out, or help, or pull someone in, or have that conversation? I know that it happens, but I can think of specific times where I was like, were there times I just could have taken a huge breath? And are there things that you could have done differently? I don't know. I'm still trying to figure that out. I'm talking to a couple different clients and trying to, figure out that right answer for those moments. Because I felt like I was at one in my life where I actually failed at it, and I'm not used to failing. And so trying to figure that out and take that pause and go, wait, I know in a certain moment when I took a pause and called certain things out, well, that didn't work out so well. So it's like, how can you change that? What are things that you can do? To be continued.
what I do think a pause is important. Like, when you're emotional or you're in that state, step away. Like, we all know, like, when we're in the heat of the moment, how we can push buttons, how we can say things or do things or react in certain ways. And taking a breath and pausing, it doesn't take that much time to really take a breath and pause. As risk reward goes, like, it's really important to do that. So sometimes we make excuses too. So pausing on those moments and realizing, I think, is important.
Yeah. And sometimes walking away.
Yeah.
I think depending on whatever is happening, walking away from that, whenever it's like, well, if I pause, everything's going to fall apart. But is everything going to fall apart, or are you going to be better off?
So let's continue this topic of being your authentic self. So perfection and imperfection. So I think so many times those people pleasers are also perfectionists, and they really put so much pressure on themselves and put pressure on their families that they are just so worried about dotting their I's and crossing their T's and getting everything right that they put so much pressure when nobody really even cares. Like, your true friends are just showing up to be like, hey, I'm so glad I got to see you. Like, and I see this meme on Facebook, like, what's the first thing you notice to see if a person's really clean at their house? What? And I looked at the comment section. It's like, why are you going to their house just to see if they clean? You're not a friend. Don't go to their house.
Is that why you were going through stuff earlier?
I was just looking. But it was like one of those things. It's like, why are you even coming to their house if that's the kind of person you're going to be? Like, don't stay your ass at home. We don't need you.
Yeah.
Sorry, I cursed.
Yeah. And as far as, I think it's a senior moment because it's gone.
Sip.
Sip. Senior sip. Senior sip.
And you said
I am the senior of the group, just so y'all know. So.
We're trying not to curse. Like, this is not a cursing show. Like, it's not.
Oh yeah, it is. But
no, it's not. But I mean, it's authenticity. Like
We're not cursing, damn it.
I'm
Is
authentic.
damn it a curse word? I feel like my kid. Is damn it a curse word?
I love to curse, and sometimes I get called out on it. But
when I was super miserable, I'm gonna write a book one day. It's gonna be called The Year of the F Word.
yeah, we had
That's still my idea.
we had bombs going off all over the place. No, I think also as a person who is the people pleaser, I think they're also the fixer. And I think we tend to beat ourselves up when a situation comes up and you want to please everyone because you want everyone to be happy, everything to be wine and roses and rainbows and unicorns and everything like that. And all of a sudden you can't fix something. That's a real difficult pill to swallow when all of a sudden you can't fix someone's problem. And that's tough. And I learned that in my medical career, like I said earlier, dealing with spinal cord injury. So many patients would come to me and say, am I ever going to walk again? That's a question I can't answer. And my response was always, anything's possible, but may not be probable.
You taught me that. That was a good lesson.
And you have to be willing to give them a hard truth sometime and not lie to them and be authentic to what you do and what you don't know, because sometimes I'm in medicine. I'm like, you know what? I saw people that I thought would never walk again prance their little happy butt right outside of that tier. And, Carrie Houston is Olympic gymnast who was one of my most valuable patients, clients, and he's thriving, does phenomenal. Never thought he'd walk again after his neck injury. And he's doing fantastic. And he's the one that I would have said, not going to walk again. Not my place to say yes or no, but I had the hard reality of saying, Dr. Carter, my mentor, he passed away several years ago, but that's what he would say. He had two favorite things. Anything's possible, but it's not probable. And his other thing was, well, that's just how the pickle squirts. I said, excuse me? Those are the two things that resonate with me. He was a phenomenal man. He was, Edward Carter, ever look him up, he's fantastic. He was fantastic. But he was so authentic, and he had to be. And you have to sometimes deal with that reality of giving people the information that they don't want. But it's not to hurt them. It is to make sure that they realize that they're always going to get the genuine person that they've come to. And that's, I think, being authentic.
So I think, too, you think about it, like our personalities were very different, but there are a lot of similarities between us and the way we care for people, the way we do things. Like, we don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. It's not that we do it on purpose and not trying to be so direct or being direct and all these things. And then you have extremely analytical folks, or some folks that it's like, oh my gosh, you put me in a room full of people and I just don't want to be there. That's okay too. Like, it goes back to, who are you and being you. And if you're uncomfortable in a situation, you don't want to be there. I do like to say, well, let's get you outside of your comfort zone. There are certain sides of your personality you can tap into, and there are things you might be missing out on. But at the end of the day, remember when I was talking about going with your gut? Mm-hmm. And how do you feel? If fear is holding you back and not your gut, if something on the inside is like, well, you probably would like it, or you want to do this, or you want to say that, or whatever. But genuinely, if your bones are telling you you should do something, but fear is holding you back, that's a different story. Mm-hmm. And I think we all deal with things in different ways. There's so many different personalities that are out there. And, what resonates with you, what resonates with Natalie, what resonates with me is different. And then there are, other personalities around that they might be listening like, oh, that's soft. That's a little fluffy. That's a little this. I get it. Mm-hmm. I understand. And whatever is important to you or who you truly feel like you are, then focus in on that. But if you're freaking miserable and you're holding back, fix that.
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason for that. Like, if you're not happy, change your situation. And is it looking in the mirror? And is it saying, I wish I was doing this, but I'm afraid to? Fear is different. You can face everything and run, or you can face everything and rise.
Ooh, I see what you did there. See, she took fear and she took the acronym.
Just say it, and so you could be afraid to have these difficult conversations, and it's holding you back. But having a conversation or putting yourself in a situation can truly make your life better if you're doing it for the right reasons. And fear should not hold you back from being authentic. Ultimately,
I always want to be that person, and this is just me personally, because everyone, because of being a widow at a young age and being a single mom for a while, and being blessed that my mom pushed me so hard to get my career on track and everything. And I've done well, but I've always wanted to be that person that you see that meme that says, you woke up that morning, your feet at the ground, the devil said, "Oh shit, she's up." That's what I want to be. I want to be that person that takes the bull by the horns and just goes out there. But sometimes there are things that absolutely stop me in my tracks. And I'm like, I just don't know if I can do that. And it's okay if you don't. But, when I took that leap of faith and did a complete career change, put my faith in you guys and learned so much. And here I am having the time of my life, doing something totally outside of what my normal comfort zone was. That was a huge thing of fear for me, but I depended on women who were authentic to themselves, and I knew were going to be truthful with me to help push me along, because these two ladies are what basically helped me keep my head above water when I went through a major, downfall in my personal career and my professional career, my personal life. And when I was fortunate enough to have these ladies come in my life, it was a game changer. So now I feel like I am that woman once again where the devil says, "Oh, hell, here she is." And that's what I want to be.
So when you think about your circle of friends, and I know we're going to wrap up here in a minute, but when you think about your circle of friends and who you have around you, do they make you a better person? If they don't, you might need a different circle.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Weed them out. And do that by introducing yourself to new circles. Like, what are your goals and hobbies? Go on Meetup, find Facebook groups, find people who embody what you're trying to be. And that kind of goes with starting your goals, right? Where do you want to be in 5 years? Where do you want to go?
A lot of people might not know, because you had to teach me about this. What is Meetup? Like, what would be some ideas that somebody to meet other people? They're like, I want to be this, but I don't know.
So Meetup is a online platform where you can go, kind of like Eventbrite, where events are held. So you like flying planes or whatever, those little motorized planes, or you want to,
They look like sometimes some are like vintage planes when you remote control.
Or drones, as Mindy likes to call them. Try to be a smart ass here. See what happens? No,
you don't
curse. I don't curse.
I didn't know you have your ring on your
I do. I got my ring on my finger for my necklace on my drink. So no, but you can go find people with similar hobbies. You can find, whether it's investing, like I have a meetup on meetup.com that you can go to and be a part of it. And you can find different groups and things, like we're talking about doing one down here. So that will resonate, whether it's real estate, whether it's fashion, whatever it is.
It could be anything.
You can find it. Like golf. You can go find somebody to go play golf with that's outside of your circle, so you don't have to hang around the negative energy people or whatever the situation. Shoot, go to a church. Churches are doing so many different things now. Like you might find a good church. Like I would go up and play beach volleyball at the church, sand volleyball beach. There was no beach, but sand. So just different things like that. So
it doesn't have to be resonate. It doesn't have to be at a singles bar. Well, I don't go to the bars. No, it can be a very positive experience. And, you may have an interest in something that you think nobody else has an interest in, but like you said, you go research a little bit and you'd be surprised how many little wonderful, quirky groups there are out there that just absolutely, relate to you. And you're like, wow, but you have to take that first step and
being your authentic self and like being great. If there's something that's holding you back and you think of, well, I don't know how to find my voice. I don't know how to do this, like Toastmasters and figuring out how to speak. Like there's so many things that you can do to have your voice heard, to be the person that you want to be, that you don't even realize is out there. And if you're miserable, you're probably not being your authentic self. And if you are, find some new friends. They might help you find a new personality.
But
So
be your own personal friend first.
Yeah.
Be your own friend first. And they say find yourself, know who you are. That way, once you know what you want, what your personal why is, why you are who you are, that is going to help you be more relatable to those people and help you find those people.
So let's try to kind of get out of here with segment 3, like hot topics, imposter syndrome.
So our first thing, we had a cat walk in front of us. Our second one, we had a son and a dog. So, this is real life, people. We love it.
So segment 3, spicy take or sweet treat, like hot topics. We talked about like imposter syndrome. That's one thing we haven't mentioned. And as we progress in our careers and we progress in our lives, sometimes we feel like we're not in the right room, that we are impostoring ourselves in our own roles and positions. What are your thoughts on that, Mindy?
Well, I think imposter syndrome, and we could cover it a lot in the next episode, but God, it's a huge topic. Some folks don't even think that imposter syndrome is real, or they think they're in a position they're faking it. But oftentimes, if you think of the core of what imposter syndrome is you're in a position that you don't feel like you deserve. And what you have to do is realize you're in that position for a reason. Somebody believed in you. You've proved yourself in a way, unless there's just complete nepotism. But somewhere you didn't screw all that up and you still were able to make yourself in a position where somebody believed in you. They wanted to be part of what you had. That's, there's a big difference in you're not qualified, you're not worthy. Your self-doubt, to me, imposter syndrome is a lot of self-doubt. Mm-hmm. And that is one of the biggest things that holds people back. Not realizing how worthy you are. Number one, you woke up today. You're here for a reason. There is a greater good for you being on this earth. Every individual can make a difference. If you think about the light bulb, if that person wouldn't have done it, where would we be today? It would have taken longer.
Who was that person?
Thomas Edison. As I'm like, all the things, all the distractions. I was in my serious moment, and my kid was trying to open the door. The dog's walking this way.
Let Them.
We got your back. We got your back.
That's a great book.
Well, let them. So at the end of the day, if you're in a position and you're questioning yourself and your worth, you need to look in the mirror. You need to pull your phone up. You need to go, what do I have to offer? Because you have a lot to offer. You're in that position for a reason. And then those people that don't get you, they don't like you. If you're not being a jerk, and if you're not trying to take advantage of people and taking other people's ideas, that is the worst. Taking credit for other people's ideas. If you're not that person and you're truly there for the greater good, you're there for a reason. No, I don't take people's ideas.
No, it sounds personal. Like it
Personal.
sounds like
It makes me mad. I have seen so many people who have literally, I'm in a room and somebody takes so-and-so's idea or somebody's taking my idea. But I mean, I get over that. I'm like, fine, whatever.
Oh, not me.
But other people, wow, that's terrible.
So I know.
I'm like, not let them. I'm like, excuse me, but there's a way to say it too, by the way.
So I know we're trying to wrap up, but there's something about what you said, and I'll never forget when. And I keep alluding to the fact that I started working. It's been a little over a year ago. Was working for you and with both you ladies, and I walked into a totally different arena than what I was used to. Walked out of the medical field into real estate investing and was learning so much. And again, totally different topic, but I felt like I didn't belong there because I was hired for a totally different reason. And I really felt like I was the dumb girl in the room.
And one thing that Mindy told me was, she said, and I'm fixing to cuss, so I'm telling you, she said, you know what? You're a fucking doctor. You walk your ass in that room and you own that room because you worked hard for where you are. And it may not be in this industry, but you stand up for what you are. Because even though you may not know exactly 100% what's going on in here, you've kicked ass someplace else. And so you've earned that respect. And I got chills, because that all of a sudden made me realize I was worthy. And I had a lot to learn, but that's all of a sudden when I was no longer afraid to stand back, and I took the qualities that I had that she saw in me to bring to this new position I was in, and I ran with it. It took me a while to kind of find what I was doing and figure out what I was doing, but she allowed me to walk in and say, you know what? Be proud of who you are. Stay true to who you are. Don't stand up there and pretend that what you're talking about, you know what you're talking about, but just be true to who you are and be faithful in yourself and be authentic with yourself. And that made a huge difference, because I probably would not have lasted as long as I did, because I felt completely unworthy of the people that I was around because of a new industry that I had gone to.
Humbling is switching industries, especially
Yes.
when you're older in age and you're not a spring chicken anymore, and it's not like,
There's no spring chicken here.
Yeah. No. But running for political office, like
Yes.
I ran for school board, and you want to know what it's like to have everything scrutinized. Like my whole social profile, my everything was
Takes
gone
apart.
through that.
And going against someone who was well known in the community.
Very well known in the community.
You stuck
He was
to
a
your,
pastor in the community.
Yeah.
She got 35,000 plus votes.
I was on the ballot with DJT, but I did get the third most votes in the district. I ran for school board for Klein ISD. And the reason why I ran is because there was somebody with authority and power that I do not feel upheld his word. He didn't uphold his word. He didn't do what he promised his parishioners, victims of abuse. And he was on school board for a long time. Then we had this huge sex trafficking thing that happened and was allowed to go on in the school for a year.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I ran on principle on who I was, and there is no argument for that. They can still say he is a godly man. They can still say that he is all these wonderful things, but I am not one of lip service. I am one of action. And what I saw in his actions, really where the rubber met the road, was inaction, and not a man of his word, not a man who did what he was supposed to do. So being able to stand up there and speak with conviction, like we would have 30 seconds, a minute to speak, very skewed towards the incumbent.
Sure.
Because they have PACs that are set up by the construction companies and the Education Foundation and everybody else that wants to support the incumbent. And they have the construction companies that are paid by the bonds. All of these people are all paying for the marketing and the campaigning to keep this thing going.
You still got 35,000 votes.
I did. And I ran against that, and I stood on principle, and there's nothing more filling and, like I had a minute to get up in these forums and speak. So being direct, I didn't come up and say, hi, everybody. My name's Natalie. I'm a school teacher. I just want to thank you for giving me the time. No, I have issues. And now the sex trafficking has been talked about so much. We still don't have answers. We still don't have a reason or a response from the district. Now we're into another topic, like grievance processes, and I can go on, but being able to speak on conviction very quickly and very, impactfully, effectively, like things have got to change. Like you cannot keep running things the way that these elected officials, water districts, MUDs, you start looking at the surplus tax that they charge. I don't know if you guys are in a MUD here, but I just checked my bill, and it's like $50, $100 that every homeowner is getting charged. Why? Where is that going? Who gets a surplus? Why is it staying on? Like there's so many questions that people need to ask. Run for politics, guys. If you want to actually be humbled very quickly, do that. I mean, it's fun. Nothing tests your authentic
But you
self.
knew that going into that, and you still felt so strongly, and you had such strong convictions on the difference between right and wrong, and how you felt things, should not be progressing, that you put yourself out there.
I did.
And you were authentic to yourself, and you said, you know what, I want to make a difference.
And I still go to the school board meetings, and I'll sit there and stare at all the school board members, And the school board member that I ran against actually is resigning and moving to Florida. He resigned and moved to Florida to take a new position.
Imagine
Hasn't
that.
been out of the district in his whole life, and now all of a sudden he's moving across country.
You think maybe he felt a little bit of pressure?
I don't know. He should. Shame on you.
Cheers to that.
Cheers to that.
Cheers to that.
Here's to being your authentic self,
Yes.
everybody.
Let your voice be heard, ladies and gentlemen. Very good.
She got 35,000 plus votes. P.S. By the way,
Yep.
that might not be a lot for you where you're from, but that's a lot.
That's a lot.
Of votes.
That's a lot.
She's amazing. Anyway, y'all, this has been great. We've had a lot of fun with you. Hope you've enjoyed being with us. This drink, the more we had, the better it got. So I'm just
That's
saying,
right.
you might want to
And
try it.
keep in mind the recipe is on. It's going to be on our
So
website.
you want to subscribe?
It'll be on the newsletter, so you got to go in, put in your email down at the very bottom. Where you put the email, then you have to verify the email that you are legit. But also, if you have a show topic, if you have an idea, if you want us to talk about something, kick around, maybe something happened at work or something happened with the kids, we'll give you our 2 cents for whatever that's worth. But that's under Spill the Tea on the website, so you can't go wrong either way.
Yes. So if you subscribe to the newsletter, you have to verify it. If you just spill the tea, you can tell us your topic that you want or send us a recipe. Amazing conversations. I can't wait till our next.
Yeah.
Sugar, spice, and spirits.
Adios.
Yeah, that's good.
That was good.
I was like, I thought we were going to talk about
Sugar, Spice, and Spirits is for informational and entertainment purposes only. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed are solely those of the host and guests and do not represent those of any affiliated organizations. The content provided is not intended to be a substitute for professional advice, whether legal, financial, medical, or otherwise. Always seek the advice of qualified professionals regarding any questions that you may have. While we aim to keep information accurate and up to date, we make no guarantees of completeness, reliability, or accuracy. Any action you take based on the information presented is strictly at your own risk. Cheers to mixing a little fun and some friendly advice. But remember, sip responsibly and always do your own homework.